My name is Marthinsson. I'm one of the founders of Avinode, and Avinode Group, as we call it today. I reflected yesterday, listening to the eVTOLs and the excitement about it, to the embryo of the Avinode company. This is back in 1999, and people were talking about the very light jets. They were going to revolutionize the way we traveled. 4-passenger private jets powered by the same engine as the Tomahawk cruise missiles, which meant when the cycles were done, you tossed the engine, no maintenance, and you put on new engines. Same cost of travel as a taxi. Our initial business idea was to buy 100 Eclipse aircraft, build a software from A to C to operate air taxi, and our business plan required $120 million in investment. Avinode became a master's thesis project at university, and our professor quite quickly said, guys, you can't build a business idea on aircraft that are supposed to be delivered in 3 to 5 years. Go out, look at the market, identify pain points, and be focused on solving that. So in August 29th, 2001, we launched Avinode with a vision to make it as easy to book a private jet as a commercial airline ticket. August 2001. That's sort of 9 months after the dot-com bubble busted, 14 days before 9/11. You can imagine that pitching a dot-com aviation idea meant that we were allowed to pitch to 0 venture capitalists. Not even scheduled a meeting. Our initial funding, and the only funding we ever took in, was $150,000 from a media company. And from there on, we have built a successful group of companies that have continued to grow. What's exciting about the eVTOLs is it's not 2 companies that are trying this out, but unfortunately both of them failed. It's actually more than 100 companies and a lot of investments being done, so I'm sure that there's going to be more success in this space than it was over the last 3 to 5 years for the very light jets. So Alistair and his team asked me to talk a little bit about the business trends that we see, where things are moving and what is not changing. And in order to give you sort of perspective on where we base our foundation and perspective, let me just give you a run through what Avinode Group is. The Avinode Group consists of 3 companies in the family. The kid brother, or the baby brother, I would say, is Avinode. That's our most recent startup. The aim is to be PayPal, but for private aviation, to solve that pain point of immediate payment 24/7, 365 for an average transaction size of $22,600. The second company is sort of the teenager. That's Scudero. It's a flight operations and scheduling software used around the world by 350 operators. And then the almost grown-up sister, the big sister of the family, is the Avinode marketplace. Some people will say that Avinode is the best kept secret in the industry. It could be that we haven't been needing to raise money as we've been profitable for 15 years, or we are not targeting an end client base. I would say that this is probably the biggest amount of marketing that we do inside the industry. Avinode is the closest thing to B2B marketplace in the world. We have connected 1,200 operators and brokers, representing 3,400 aircraft, providing pricing and real-time availability. That allows a sort of a kayak experience when searching for a jet. And right now, on an average month, there are 600,000 charter requests being exchanged between brokers and operators, roughly 20,000 a day. And our peak period coincided with summer leisure travel in Europe, where we in a single 30-day period had 1 million requests. That represents about 150,000 charter trips. So, one of the trends, we actually go back one slide. One of the trends that we'll talk about, and something that I have been involved in a lot over the last couple of years, and I probably had 50 potential startups reach out and ask, could you help us? We want to start the Uber for private jets. Unfortunately, a lot of them never ever started because it's so easy to make an assumption that you saw Uber and you want to apply it just because you travel on a private jet, you want to do the Uber for private jets. So a quick recap of why Uber has been successful. And of course, there are so many different reasons. And I'll just highlight a couple. And then we'll look and see where the aviation space and how it compares. Number 1 was Uber was able to bring a whole new set of supply into the market. Private individuals that could become taxi drivers. Cars that were sitting idly by, all of a sudden available. They bridged the knowledge gap that had existed. But so of course in London, for example, in order to be a cab driver, you need to know every street by heart. Here, a driver just needed to turn on the app version for the driver, and they were already ready to go. They created a new customer experience. I mean, a way you no longer had to worry about where the hell is my cab. And at the same time, they were able to start moving the market, introducing surge pricing in order to level out supply and demand. The app became not just a reservation, but the ride planning and the payment system all in one, offering a great experience. They challenged the regulators, in most cases won. The difference between a cab, a private car operation, and a private driver was so close enough that they challenged the local regulators and managed to win. They took on the Miami-Dade taxi commissioner and won. Created a market demand for it by challenging and running for several months illegal tax operations. So why haven't we seen the same thing happening with Uber for private jets? Number one is when we look at the app today, you think it's a sweet app. Everyone wants to have an Uber-like experience. You don't realize that the app is just the tip of the iceberg of what needs to be done. It's a lot of hard work that needs to come together in order to create that experience. The supply chain. In private aviation today, there isn't a whole set of new aircraft that you all of a sudden can bring to the market. We don't have an overcapacity of pilots. Actually, pilot shortages is the number one concern in the industry. Mechanics and other people is another concern. So all of a sudden, you can't just open it up and have everyone contribute. Most aircraft today are not owned by the operators. It's not like in the Uber world where the owner is actually the driver who can decide right there and then what they want to do, when they want to fly, or when they want to drive. In most cases, it's a corporation or an end client that owns the aircraft. Owner approval. In other words, before you as an operator can confirm a flight, you need to ask them for permissions. Are you going to use your aircraft or not? And by the way, can I sell the aircraft on this route for this price? There are owners who will say, take my aircraft, fly it as much as you want. If it's occupied when I need it, I will go commercial. Very charter-friendly owners. And then you have owners who want to know the name of every single passenger that might be on that flight before they're going to greenlight it, to make sure it's not someone who they are in a business feud with or that's a rock band or whatever reasons. And these are not the people that drop everything they're doing in order to respond to your request to get in their Uber. The time delays just adds complexity. When you travel with a private jet, you expect that it will be a customized experience. That what you want can and will be delivered. Imagine if you on the Uber app had the opportunity to say, I want the BMW X5 with brown leather interior and Voss sparkling water and peppermint Tic Tacs. That's my expectation, and you now need to deliver that. And by the way, there only happens to be 2 cars in the New York City area that can do it. It adds on a lot more complexity. And then the regulatory challenge. When you're pushing the limits within aviation and charter, you're going up against the FAA and the DOT. And they are not the Miami-Dade Taxi Commission. They are very quick in closing down any operation that they view is on the borderline or stepped over. We have had cases where you have had ventures that have done owner-operated trip sharing. In other words, the pilot owns the aircraft and he's flying and he wants to sell a couple of seats. They said that's illegal. You also have international cabotage, which is very quickly coming in and saying where you can pick up and where you can drop off. and aviation regulations move very, very slowly. So it's very tough to take on and create change. I think that we all recognize that one of the nice things about an Uber is you get out of the cab and you don't have to pick up your wallet. The payment experience is awesome. The average Uber ride is $13.36 according to a study a couple of years ago. The average transaction in the private jet space is $22,600. 30% of the flights are booked within the next 72 hours. And everyone wants to be prepaid. The equivalent is basically that because credit cards are so expensive and there's a chargeback risk, everyone in aviation wants to have a wire, money on their account. The Uber analogy would be that you go to the Uber and give him cash at hand before he even starts driving to your pickup location. That said, I mean, we saw the presentations yesterday, there's definitely opportunities in disrupting air travel in many, many ways. And we are very excited about being part of the technical revolution that's going on in the industry. But I would caution anyone who hears that someone is just saying, I want to do an Uber for private jets. Because most probably, they have only looked at the app and not fully understood the fundamentals in this industry. So, where do we think that the mega trends are right now? Looking at business aviation worldwide, we are in the charter sector. I'll touch on a couple, and then we'll open up for questions. Number one, there's definitely a push of consolidation. This is both on the buyer side and the supplier side, in other words, the brokers and the operators. Historically, operators have been smaller, 3, 5, 8 aircraft of mixed types. Brokers have been focused on their local markets. We are seeing now that it's not just consolidation, it's the number of size of aircraft an operator might have, or the number of brokers working for a company. We've also started seeing a vertical consolidation. Charter operator by name tells you that they are operating aircraft. Charter brokerage have been in the industry, which is very fragmented, to sell charter. Most operators now have started up their own brokerage. They call it off-fleet sourcing or whatever. Almost all of the large brokers have, some are public about it, some are secretive about it, have bought certificates. So brokers are becoming operators, operators are becoming brokers. We saw announcements last week of consolidation happening in the industry. Exojet and VistaJet. You had the aviation group, Directional Aviation, who is a fractional jet card, charter, MRO, acquiring Private Fly, online broker. So there's definitely consolidation going on. We also see that there is a focus on going from a mixed operation to streamlined operation. And it's very much of an analogy to the airline industry where you went to one category of aircraft, maybe 737s. I see more and more operators saying that instead of having a Citation 5, an Excel, a Falcon 2000, I'd rather have 3, 4 Phenom 300s. Again, driven by scale of operation, pilot shortages, the opportunities to run more and efficient. And you will have operators out there that are becoming very selective of what aircraft they want to manage. If you are a charter operator, you don't want to have that owner who never releases his or her aircraft. Or if you're an aircraft management company focused really on the management part, why try and compete in the charter world? There is a lot of investment going on in back-end business technology. Aviation, this part of aviation has been very behind the curve. Whiteboards to schedule aircraft, manila folders with printed copies of credit cards and IDs circulating around the broker. Outlook folders with 500 emails being the way that you manage a trip. It's Stone Age, but thankfully there's a lot of innovation going on, a lot of companies coming in and offering solutions to streamline workflow. But we also need to realize that this industry is extremely fragmented. We have on Avinode integrations with 32 different scheduling softwares that feeds us their availability. 32 different softwares and about 1,000 operators. Operators used to pay maybe $20,000 a year for their software. So basically, we have 32 companies chasing a pot or a market that's worth $20 million. It's very, very hard to build enterprise software and aim to be profitable if you're in that sphere. There's also the question of the broker. Shouldn't the broker be disintermediated? And I think Emmerich did a great job from LunaJets yesterday to explain the value added that brokers do. Even brokers want to have a push-button book for the flight London-Nice, where the commission might be 300 euros or 50 euros, or Miami, New York. But they add a value service on the more complex trips, transatlantic trips, trips where the concierge service is extremely important. In one way, it's good that aviation is behind if we look at what happens in other industries, because we can just copy and paste. If you look at what's happening in SaaS in terms of collaboration, connectivity, digitalization, all aspects of this industry, one way or another, needs to be digitized. Everyone does not need to sell online, but service online, etc. And thankfully, through APIs, this is becoming easier and easier. But again, one challenge we have as an industry is that it's so fragmented that even if you as one broker and a couple of operators are able to have a good interaction, you cannot replicate that at scale today, unfortunately. This is an area where we are extremely active and promoting and have a view that we should have an API universe that's open as possible. And finally, as consumers, we are constantly exposed to great service through a digital platform. Be it Airbnb, be it Uber, be it wealth management, be it whatever. Those needs, and you can even see that Uber and Airbnb are going from the consumer segment and bringing that into the business traveler experience. The clients who travel on private jets, the business travelers that will have the ability to upgrade, the new wealthy people that come in, because of course the people that have been wealthy for a long time, they're already used to dictating and getting what they are used to. But the people that are coming from a consumer world, bring in the expectations. Why should it not be possible to update my passenger manifest on my private jet when I'm at Hilton, can open the hotel door? So, overall, as a technology company, we recognize that technology is not the solution to all problems. Technology by itself isn't valuable. The innovation that has happened during the last couple of years and that we see will happen over the next few years is going to be driven by interesting new business models. Like what JetSmarter is doing, what Wheels Up are doing, what all the companies are doing and introducing. Technology is just there to support, sometimes enable, but we need to recognize that technology by itself isn't worthwhile. You need to have the idea and then work with the right partners. So, with that, I'm open to any questions that someone might have.
Great. Thanks very much, Pat. So you have two questions on Slido. Why isn't Avinode, when you get asked a lot, why isn't Avinode open to the public to book charters?
From the get-go in 2001, we took the decision to be pure business for business. I think it's very important to be true to what you are and what you aren't, and excel at that. We see that we are a technology company. We work with our operators and brokers. We do provide technology. If someone wanted to take their offering as a lead generator on the website, we provide technology for brokers and operators to go towards the same client. But you need to be a fundamentally different company if you're going to go after a B2C market. You have to have marketing, you have to have concierge, you have to have that drive. And us as Avinode, we have to be pretty cocky. If we think that I alone, or we alone, can take on Sergey, Kenny, Thomas Floor, and the rest of the industry. So why would we even want to do that, where we're excelling at what we do today? So that's why we stay true to be B4B, and then deliver technology if anyone wants to be B2C. And right now we work with all the major B2C ventures out there.
Okay, and the second question is, what is the biggest challenge in setting up the payment mechanism?
So we have Paynode. We started that 2.5 years ago. Had the idea, rolled something out, and are now currently going through the build, measure, learn cycle that the first turnaround didn't work. The challenges in this industry is a couple. It's a large amount of money that's being transacted. As I said, $22,600 on average. Credit card is no use because you don't want to have the 3% cost for it. But more importantly, you cannot take the risk of chargeback. And then when it comes to wires, 2 or 3 parties involved, and the sheer nature of the proximity of the trip from the booking. So you need to be able to be faster than the wire, cheaper than the wire, and credit cards are today just used as insurance. So it's going to be solved. We just need to do some additional work on the payment side. But if you're an operator, you might have a lot of wires coming in and you're not leaving until you reconcile it all.